Patriotism. Ain't it great? Recently, as we've all been paying attention to the news, the last 8 years, we've seen an influx of this sort of MAGA patriot. And let me be clear, I'm all for the destruction of the federal government and the empire that is America. This is a country that I grew up in that radicalized me, not on the right, but on the left. The years of every 7 years, the stock market dipping and having a reset, as the economists call it. Watching people I love lose their homes. Watching people I love lose their lives because they couldn't afford health insurance. Literally couldn't afford health insurance. I can't go to the emergency room and have $1,500 worth of debt. I can't have that. I have to feed my children and pay my rent. I know people that happened to, people I loved. So America radicalized me to the left, but America radicalized MAGA to the right, because MAGA is emotionally immature and intellectually dishonest. I'm neither one of those things. I don't think that the best thing you can do in the world is make more money. I think the best thing that you can do in the world is help people, is to make people who are vulnerable in our society make their lives easier. That's all it is for me. I'm a Marxist. I'm about pure democracy. I'm about getting rid of bosses, getting rid of managers, getting rid of people at the top, ownership, and diversifying that. We are the people who make the products. We should control the means of production, and we should control the surplus capital. We shouldn't let dead labor, which is profit, everything's been paid for, dead labor, be used to invest into other things, the bourgeois class. That has to be taken down. Make no mistake. So my radicalization is more, in my opinion, is not reactionary. It's a idea that I finally understand that the whole purpose of life is not so you can accumulate more crap. It's so you can make people's lives better. And that's an intelligent person. That is an intellectual. They help themselves and at the same time help everybody else. And then the feedback loops kick in and oversimplifications. But MAGA was radicalized towards the right. And what they didn't understand is they were being used. They were being told, instead of wanting stronger government, more government funding to the individual, more help, a hand up, not a handout, they went the other way. They bought into austerity. They bought into conservative economics, if they even thought this deeply about it. They were propagandized to, but propaganda has to have a dance partner. It takes two. It takes the propagandizer, the propaganda producer, and the person absorbing the propaganda. They have to accept it. And this is something that is not left out. Many great writers, even Chomsky even talks about this, but the psychological part of propaganda, people often don't discuss. They don't get that sometimes people, they choose the propaganda that they like. They know that perhaps maybe you can interview a MAGA and they'll tell you that Donald Trump lies. They'll tell you that Donald Trump, yes, he has done bad things, but he's a Christian and we have to forgive him, because it's convenient for them, of course, to say that, because they're going to support him anyway, regardless. Because what they want is that form of propaganda. They want to pretend that they're patriots. Schopenhauer said, people who are patriotic often have nothing in their own lives that they are proud of. So they need something to be proud of, the government that becomes that thing. Marx said, as a working person, you do not have a country. All we have is our class. That's why I don't think patriotism works. It's one of the many, many reasons. I've seen the ugliness of patriotism from what the right decided to do to Colin Kaepernick. Colin Kaepernick's professional football career was ended because he took a knee for a racist pledge of allegiance to protest police violence against black men and women. And he was really quite brilliant. He was really ahead of his time because he did that in 2016. Well, in 2020, George Floyd is murdered. And we can talk about all of the other, Tamir Rice, all of the other people, Michael Brown, all of the black men who were killed by white police officers or even police officers of color. It really doesn't matter because they racially profile as well. You think Eric Adams doesn't racially profile and go after black people? He was a black cop. Doesn't really matter. They're part of the system. The mayor of New York is what I'm talking about. But who's a former cop. So the patriotism, but the patriotism in America that MAGA has swallowed is macho patriotism. It isn't really anything. It's a creation of a macho patriotism. It reminds me of Sarah Palin when she was running for vice president saying, man up. You need to man up. You need to man up. Hyper-masculine propaganda. This goes into a lot of the people that watch Joe Rogan. This goes into other podcasts that people watch. All of this terrible stand-up comedy that is basically xenophobic, homophobic, anti-woman. But they all sit around and laugh they're all in Joe Rogan's little Rogosphere. Joe Rogan was at the inauguration for Donald Trump. He is a dullard. Joe Rogan was not a funny stand-up. He has never been able to meaningfully entertain anybody. He got really lucky with Fear Factor. He got lucky with News Radio, and then he got really lucky with Fear Factor. And then people knew who he was, Howard Stern, all that stuff. So he was on Howard Stern for a while. But anyway, and all Rogan is doing is Howard Stern, the 90s entertainment. But anyway, but the negative patriotism that macho, machismo, hunting, fishing, special forces, the worship of these psychopaths who are special forces, who brag about killing children and killing fucking women. This is a macho sort of patriotism. This isn't a concern for other people. This is a concern for you. You're a selfish, toxic individualist. So rugged individualist, whatever terminology, I like toxic individualist more. Because I didn't go to college and learn all these terminologies. Therefore, if you learn all these terminologies, that's great that you know them. But how about you just break them down simply so everyone can understand them? Like there's people online, there's some lefties online who like to smell their own farts because they went to, FD signifier, who went to college and have been sitting in front, Sam Harris, who have been sitting in front of teenagers and who hold them in, oh my God, this guy knows more than me. You don't know more than me, son. You don't know more than me, fella. You don't know more than a working class person who has actually experienced life and has read theory and has taught themselves these things and can live them. You're not living them in the university system. I am all for schools. I think schools are great. Go into as much debt as you can to educate yourself. You learn to critically think. You learn skills that will help you make more money, help you be a better person. You'll meet people. You'll meet connections. College is great. But there's a lot of people who think they're smarter than they are talking about theory online, and they're just smarter than the people that are listening to them. That's it. Joe Rogan is smarter than the people that listen to Joe Rogan. Think of that. Imagine that. Anyway, but this patriotism is gross. And it's also swallowing all of that goes along with it, swallowing all of the male myths of our society, believing in the hunter-gatherer bullshit, believing that women should be subservient to men because the Bible says so. I mean, the macho-ness of being anti-homosexual or anti-trans, and supposedly you're protecting children. You're not. You're just a hate-filled bigot. All of this male bullshit. And it's a lot to do with men in this country being cucked to the 1500th degree. You ever met a MAGA guy at work? I'll leave you with this. This is an example of MAGA patriotism. They're wearing a shirt that says Snowflake, and it's got a rifle on it, and they may have served in the military, but probably didn't. And they're sloppy, and they're dumb, and they're loud, and they talk a lot and don't say anything, and they insult other people. And they're basically cruel, and people are, and they're around the job, and you have to deal with them. And maybe they try to bully other people, and it doesn't work, or they try to bully you, and it doesn't work because you're just not bullyable. You're not gonna, you're the kind of person who isn't going to be intimidated. I don't care about what you have to say, forklift driver. Like we're all in this together. We're all in the same class. But that MAGA person, then you see his wife. Then you see his kids. Then you see where he lives and what he drives. It's sad. The MAGA man who hates his fat wife and his ugly kids. He hates the fact that he is living in a duplex that he is renting. He hates his children. He has no money. He has no health care that he doesn't have through his job. That is $100 a month, just the premium. We're not even talking about deductibles or copays yet. He can't use any of it. He's making payments on things from years ago. He's in massive amounts of debt. And anytime that he ever gets sick or his family members get sick, they go into worse debt. They can't afford to live the American dream, so they're pissed. And they're pissed at the left because they believe that cultural Marxism and DEI and woke policies are the reason that they can't get ahead, when that's not why they can't get ahead. They're not getting it ahead ever and be the person that they want to be, that they live in fantasy world playing video games or whatever the shit they do to pretend that reality isn't beating them over the fucking head constantly. They hate. They go outward. They don't go, you know what we need to do? We need to organize, take this company down, blah, blah, blah. And we need to get a critical mass that all of these companies that are treating their people like shit, we all support one another. Nope. I mean, wildcat strikes are illegal in America. They've done everything they can to keep you from being able to unionize. And instead of these men fighting it, even intellectually fighting it, they support it. They steer into it. They use terms like snowflake and triggered. They use terminology like transgendered kids are being are being transgenderized in their having a drag queen read them drag time story hour. Or they show up at gay pride parades, like the Boogaloo Boys and what are the other ones? What are the ones, the incels, the ones that Gavin, whatever those guys are called? They show up at gay pride parades with guns. What the fuck is wrong with you? Those are all MAGA. They find empowerment in male-dominated culture. They don't like the feminine. Many of them are closeted homosexuals. Many of them were raised by men who treated them and women. Moms are real. George Carlin made the great joke about hell is full of dads. I think hell is full of moms too. And I think we always give mom the pass because, we came out of her. We came out of her vagina, and she's the one that took care of us and breastfed us, and she was the one that made us dinner, and she's the one that folded our clothes. But she loathed you. She hated her life, and she made sure that you hated yours. Consciously or subconsciously. You were oppressed. How many men hate their mothers? How many of these MAGA patriots hate their parents? But they won't admit it because you can't say that you hate your parents, when parents are just human beings, and many of them are driven by a desire to have children, and then once they have the child, realize that they never wanted it. That's just a part of this MAGA patriotism. It's the psychology of the human being. It's the psychology of these gross fuckers, right? And they're going to take down the country. Their own country that they're patriotic towards, they're letting it be deconstructed by an Afrikaner, by a person that is not from the country. Your patriotism is more about grievance than it is actually loving your country and wanting your country to be better. First, I'm not a patriot. I don't care about America. I think it sucks. I think it's oppressed people all over the world, including its own people. I think it needs to go. Every empire needs to be taken down at some point, and this one will be taken down, but it won't be from the Marxists. It won't be from the cultural Marxists. It will be from MAGA, which is wonderful. They literally are going to take that American flag and rip it in half. The symbol that they love so very much. They're going to watch it burn, and they're actively voting for it. They're going to make America great again. They're going to not have the America that they recognize. Everything will be privatized. Your Department of Education will be gone. You'll have to figure out some way to educate your kids. You're going to have to figure out some babysitter for 8 hours while you go to work so you can pay bills and you guys don't starve. That's MAGA. MAGA's done all of this. They did it to themselves. The left was trying to help you. The left has been trying, and I'm not saying the Democratic left, I'm going to wrap this up quick. Not the Democrat Party. They suck too. But you bought into all of the male crap in our society because of capitalism, because of insecurity, and because of intellectual dishonesty and emotional immaturity. So, Patriot, good for you. Thank you for bringing down the country. Have a good day.